God made us all a little bit different. Some of us are smart, some of us are dumb. This is usually the part of the story where people start looking around when I say dumb and start looking at their neighbors. I don't think it's never them. But, some of us, we're just different, man. He's made us different. It's pretty neat to look at. We got different fingerprints. Everybody's got that one crazy person in their family. And if you can't think of who that is, it's probably you, because I was the crazy one in my family. So probably most of the people in here, that's who that's going to apply to. But we're all alike in the fact that we sin. We all sin. In Romans 3:23, it says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And that's the absolute truth. But we're spiritual beings. We have a temporary residence in this earth suit, as I like to call it. That's all it is, man. We're only here for a while. Our spirits take up this body. I don't know where you're at today. I don't know what you're struggling with, what the devil, what kind of tool he's using to keep you in, or what he's doing to you, or what he's throwing at you every day. Everyone's got that one thing, usually. God brought me out of addiction and that all that stuff, but I still got other struggles. So we usually kind of got one area that he tries to get us with. It's very interesting. I went on a fishing trip a little while back, and I bought all kind of lures, right? I mean, I had every lure in the book. I spent like $100 on lures. And I went on this fishing trip, and they didn't bite anything. What they wanted was the bait that they were accustomed to. So what they were really after was the herring and the squid and all this kind of stuff. When I started using that, I started catching fish. Same way with the devil. See, the devil will tempt you with what you're accustomed to, what he's gotten you with before. So we have that one thing, a recurring sin. How did it start? Every good psychiatrist, what's his opening speech? First thing he says when you step in his office, tell me about your childhood. How was your childhood? But that's usually where it starts, man. That's where we get tempted and find out what we like and what the devil can get us with. But what we're really doing, this is what we don't understand, it's what we're not seeing in the natural. What we're really doing is we're starting to lay the foundation for a personal prison. See, we don't know when we start getting into all these things, we're building something in the spiritual world. We're building something. And it becomes a personal prison. Tonight I'm going to share a little bit of my story. I was raised in church. I had a Christian upbringing. I didn't have a real horror story, so to speak, of a childhood. I would say the foundation for my prison was probably built in rebellion. I was always rebellious. Hard-headed was an understatement for me. Probably still is somewhat now. If you would try to tell me something before you could finish, I had derived what I thought about what you were talking about. And then before you could finish the next sentence, I would tell you what the great and mighty Oz had to say about it. My wife says some things still hadn't changed. Fault always lied in the hands of somebody else. I was never responsible for any of my actions. I was probably the first floor that was in my prison or several rooms for it anyways, was for lies. Man, as a kid, I lied. A lot of kids do, but I really took pride in it. I wanted to be able to lie and tell a story and get away with it and see if I could get you to believe it. And I don't even know why I lied. I got really good at lying. So that was probably the first floor. There was also some rejection on there. Rejection from friends and girlfriends and this type of thing. So rejection was in there somewhere. Maybe a wall or two for that. I always wanted to impress the ladies, and then if that didn't work or something, I felt, just a slap in the face, and it bothered me. I always wanted to be popular growing up. I remember not having a whole lot of money, but my parents, they did what they could for us. My mom and daddy went out their way to try to provide a good life for us, and they did. I was very blessed coming up. In my prison, I built a huge room. One day, I was hanging out with some of my buddies, and it was a life-changing day for me. We we were it was in a mobile home back in the, you had to go through the woods of my house to get to it, and we went back there, there's a bunch of, people sitting around and stuff, man, and a guy come in and he got out of his parents' room, he threw a porno in, and I'd never seen nothing like that. I had thought about it, heard about it, and all that kind of stuff, but he put the porno in, and I felt a weird feeling. I felt like it was so wrong. I should not be looking at this. But man, I couldn't stop. You know what I mean? I just could not stop. What I saw, man, I wanted that. And it became an issue for me that went on for years of my life. So I had a room for lust. I knew it was wrong, but to tell you the truth, from that day forward, I probably started looking at women differently. Instead of friends and acquaintances and that kind of stuff, and maybe still some of that, but women I was attracted to, it was different from there on out. Because I had never seen nothing like that before, and it stuck, man. It's got deep claws. Sports, football. I played football for a few years. I was never too great. I was a pretty decent running back, and I could throw and catch a ball, but I wasn't no phenom or kind of the next superstar or anything. But I learned pretty quick that if I did good, people liked me. People praised me. If I did bad, you know what I mean? Man, I just, you got benched. Not good enough became a prison for me. Not quite good enough. I didn't measure up. So that was another section. I was plumbing as a child. My daddy taught me how to plumb. I could plumb a house before I was 16. I was completely fortunate that they taught me that. I hated plumbing my whole life, but I'm thankful now that they instilled that in me. On the job, though, in the construction world, man, it's terrible. A lot of y'all probably been in construction, man, it's just vulgar, cussing. I remember the guys used to pick on me and tell me they was going to do all these things to me, you little, they called me all kind of names and stuff, and it made me get some pride up, man. I wanted to show them guys, I'm going to show them who they talking to. I'm the man, and I started getting some serious rebellion in me, man. I started getting into fights and stuff. But I wanted to be tough from that point on. I wanted to kind of prove to people that I was a man. Had a lot of pride. Once I learned that people would hurt you, I started building walls to keep the people out. I didn't want to be hurt, man. I just, once people started hurting me, I started putting up walls everywhere to keep them out. The lowest level of my prison that I was building, maybe the maximum security section, came from drugs and alcohol. I drank all throughout high school. I experimented with all kind of stuff. I began smoking weed, man. I had a guy that used to live behind me. He had some weed and stuff, man. I went in there one night or one day and smoked it, and something terrible happened. My knees fell out from under me. I started laughing. I felt good. I loved it immediately. Loved it. I said, this is it. This is what I want right here. So I fell in love with reefer. I fell in love with that escape. I went on for years of heavy partying. I tried to be the life of the party, the cool guy. Always wanted people around me. Around my senior year of high school, I had some things that kind of fueled my partying to another level. I had my granddaddy had Alzheimer's disease. My granddaddy was my view of Christianity. He was the most godly man on the planet to me. The way he died, man, and he got Alzheimer's and all, it really left just a really bad taste in my mouth, I guess, and I got very mad at God. I said, how is this going to happen, man? What's the deal? So I got really bitter about that. My peepaw died. My parents got a divorce. All of this around my senior year of high school. I had the Hope Scholarship, and I had some decent grades. I was fixing to do something with my life. I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna go to college, man. I'm gonna have a good life. And all this stuff started just kind of falling around me, man. My whole life just started shattering. Everything that I knew is stable and is secure and all was just total, it was a lie, a lot of it. I found out what I did was find out my parents were human beings, capable of making mistakes. I found a lot of things that I wish I would not have known. I'd like to never have known, but I did, and I found out that we wasn't the perfect model family that I thought we were. We were just a normal family that was falling apart. They got a divorce. My world turned upside down. The experiment, I experiment with a lot of drugs. The experiment became a mission. See, I no longer was just getting high. It was a mission. I didn't want to feel nothing. I wanted to be numb. I didn't want to feel anything, man. I was hurting inside. I had a big hole in my chest that I could not fill with enough weed. So I figured, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try liquor. Well, I started trying Budweiser first. That's what I did. You see the commercials, right? Everybody's having a good time. Bud's the king of beers. We ride on the little Clydesdales, and everybody's just, woo, life's great. They don't show the broken homes. They don't show the wrecks. They don't show the people killed. They just don't do it. They glorify it. Budweiser after Budweiser was never enough, so I figured I'd try liquor. Well, liquor had the numbing effect, but now I'm the baddest dude on earth. That didn't go over too well with the other baddest dudes on earth, and I found out there was a whole lot of them out there, and I got in all kind of trouble. This is probably the lowest point of the prison I'm talking about. This is where that solitary confinement. This is the point that took me to the lowest. Crystal meth. Man, I remember I had some friends of mine. We all lived together, and in this dude's house, we all sold dope together and stuff. And a guy come in he had one of those long mirrors, the mirrors you stand up in or you get dressed in the mornings and you can see yourself and all. Well, I had been, and I don't want to get off to a 30-minute tangent on this, but I had been up for a while, or I had been drinking for a while and all this kind of stuff, and was just hammered, man. I think we were drinking moonshine and all this stuff, but I was to the point where I'm turning green. And I remember because I was completely, just passing out. And the guys, I remember somebody saying, check his pulse, man, check his pulse. I think he's dead for real. Y'all check his pulse. Gone. And the guy come in, and before this, dope was for losers. It was okay to smoke weed. It was okay to do a little acid every once in a while, but hardcore meth and all this kind of stuff, that was for losers. I wasn't going to do that. But I was drunk. He come in, he said, man, look here. He said, you'll be Superman if you snort this. You'll be Superman. Nobody starts off their life saying, I want to be a drug addict when I grow up. But after poisoning my body day in and day out, that's exactly what I become. I was Superman. I had never felt so good. 3 Xanaxes, a bottle of Jägermeister, and a gram of meth. Matt Lever had entered the building. Stand back and be amazed. That's the way I thought of myself. Began partying with my father. That was kind of crazy. Partying with a whole separate crowd than the people I was normally partying with. I began selling to support my habit. Found out I had all kind of hookups. My family had been in the drug game or whatever for a long time. This gave me everything I wanted. It gave me power. Everybody loves the dope man. There ain't a house I went to that people didn't welcome me with open arms and straws, What you got? But I was loved everywhere I went. Power, man, it gave me power. It gave me everything that I thought I wanted. I became Superman, the man of steel. That's what I thought. If you'll show that one picture. I relate my story to Alcatraz. I was sitting here one day, and my pastor put up some pictures, and it said the view from Alcatraz. And he had visited there, I think, and was just showing some stuff. And I thought about it in my mind. I said, you know what? That was me. You see, because Alcatraz is hailed as an inescapable prison. You're not going to get away from Alcatraz. I think one dude ended up getting away or whatever, but it was one of the toughest prisons ever. And the crazy thing about it is, if you're in Alcatraz, you're on this island, right? And you can look all around, and you can see water, beautiful water. You can see the bay. You can see the land, the beach, and all this different stuff. But what you're looking out of is a little rectangular square, with bars on it. So you're looking out at this beautiful world out there that is you can't get to. You're locked up in this prison. You're looking out at all these people having fun. You're looking out at these families walking around and everybody having a good time, people laughing, people, just celebrating life, and you're looking out like this. You can see it, but you just couldn't get there. That was me. I was locked up, man, and it was an inescapable prison for a long time. Thank God for grace, though, right? This went on for years. I was living a drug-induced, thug-like lifestyle. I listen. There's not a rap song by Tupac or any of them, Notorious B.I.G. or any of them, man, that you cannot start the music right now and I finish every single word for you, word for word. Never leaves your brain, man. Music really don't. Be careful what you allow into your brain. Be very careful. I had a thug lifestyle, began screwing people over that cared about me. I started losing all of my morals. I started doing things that I never even considered doing, man. It was crazy, man. It took me down a path of a destruction, and it was just taking everything good away from me. Started losing family members' trust, started losing friends that I grew up with, and just, burning all kind of bridges and stuff. The truth is, I was a slave, and I had to ask my master before I could do anything. That's what I became. So every day before I did anything, if I did not have a line, if I did not have usually a half a gram and a double deuce and a Xanax, I wasn't doing anything. I had to ask permission. Can I go out today? Can I go to this party, birthday party, or can I, anything I did, can I go to work today? I had to ask permission from my master. The warden had sentenced me to a life imprisonment in my personal prison because there's only a 4% cure rate on crystal meth. I thought that is the craziest thing. That's what if you look at statistics, it says there's a 4% cure rate. There's 4% chance you're ever going to get off of crystal meth for good. So I was sentenced to a life in prison. As the years went on, I got good at hiding it. I got married. I became what they call a functioning addict. A lot of y'all know what I'm talking about. Should have been the happiest guy on earth, but I wasn't. See, crystal meth was still a heart issue. The reason I use the word heart is because, although it sounds crazy, I had a relationship with this stuff. Real emotions to almost like a first love breakup when I tried to stop. See, the Bible says that we cherish sin in our hearts. We cherish it. See, we love sin. And it's the absolute truth. If you look at a mother, say, my wife does this sometimes and stuff, but it's because she loves our children. But if my kids were running around acting crazy and stuff and slapping people or whatever, shouting, screaming, then the natural response would be, if it's 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, a mama is going to make up an excuse for their child. They're going to say, you know what? They're just tired. They're just sleepy. They need a nap. They got this. Maybe they're hungry. They need some food. They need to eat something. That's what your mom always said. Did you eat yet? But they're going to make up an excuse. It's because they love that kid. Same way with drugs and alcohol. When I was trying to stop, people would say, I know you're doing it. Well, I need a Xanax. I'm not that addicted. I started making up excuses because I loved it, because I cherished it in my heart. Started making up reasons for me to do drugs. Well, you don't know what happened to me. You see, my parents got a divorce. I was supposed to go to college, remember? I was going to be somebody. I started making excuses because I loved it. I cherished it in my heart. Just like the Bible said, imagine that. When I tried to come off on my own, This is something they don't talk about a lot of times. A lot of people don't mention this. But when I would try to come off of drugs, it was the craziest thing. I would hear voices. I'd come down, I'd be ready to gnaw my arm off to get some more dope. Completely addicted to crystal meth, and I knew I did not want to be this person. I knew I was locked up. Every time I tried to come off on my own, I would hear, this is when I really started believing in demons and stuff like that. I mean, before then I was like, what's a demon? Something, a little flying thing that's like the thing on Ghost or something that, all that stuff. What's a demon? I'd heard about them in church. But I would hear voices, no joke. They'd say, I can't say what they say. It's always cussing, vulgarity and stuff, but it would say, basically, kill yourself, you loser. You are a piece of crap. You don't deserve to live. Look what you're doing to your family. Nobody cares about you. You've destroyed everything in your life. You're no good. You suck. Everything, your life is worthless. This is the kind of stuff I would hear when I come down. Legitimately trying to get off of drugs on my own. No joke. When I come down, I became a monster. So the easiest thing to do, not the easiest thing, the quickest way to get over it, do another line. That's the hook. That's where the devil gets most people. Nobody wants to have to do what it takes to come off of it. Who wants to be the monster, right? I became suicidal, homicidal. I was an absolute nutcase. Most people, when they hear that Matt Lever is leading a Celebrate Recovery, they're absolutely just blown away. That guy he was crazy. That guy was a nut, and they're not lying. I was an absolute nutcase. But I was suicidal. I was homicidal. Not going to go into the story. It's about a 10-minute story, but I got on. I was only. You only hurt yourself on drugs, right? That's what they tell you. That's what the lie is. I was only going to hurt myself. I'm not hurting anybody else. Quickly, I'm going to run through this. Stayed up for 2 weeks on crystal meth. We were timing it, seeing who could stay up the longest. Been up for 2 weeks. Starting to kind of crash and lose. I was out my mind. I had pepperoni look on my face. Man, I was pale as a ghost. Eyes sunk in. Seeing shadow puppets and crazy stuff, man. I sat there at a window. I'd sit at the window like this for about an hour or two at a time, and every time everybody walked in the house, I'd say, shh, shh. I'm trying to listen. I don't know what I was listening for. I think it was the police or something, but I was geeked out my mind, man. I went crazy. But I was, man. I was absolutely homicidal. I had been up forever. It was seemed like forever. 2 weeks straight, just about, with no sleep. The guy come in with some acid. He come in with sheets and sheets of acid. And when he did, I was, like I said, I was out of my mind. So I took 10 hits, I think it was. Stuck it on my mouth, on my tongue. It ain't no good. Sat back down, not paying any attention to it. I thought I was going to go to sleep. I crashed out on the couch for just a minute, and when I did, I started hearing something go womp, 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 womp. And I sat up, and as I'm looking at the TV, I'm starting to trip acid bad. 10 hits of acid, so I'm going crazy. I'm already crazy. 2 weeks now, remember this? This is a kind of funny story. So I've been up for 2 weeks, looking like a pepperoni pizza now. My eyes sunk in. I'm looking crazy, right? Seeing shadow people. Acid hits me. When it hits me, I'm in the room by myself watching TV. And what was on the TV was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Anybody ever seen that movie? Okay, Invasion of the Body Snatchers was on. It's a little older movie. But in that movie, I done got off on a tangent, I'm sorry. But in that movie, they would take an egg and put it over the guy's head. And when they went to sleep, the egg, the little things, the tentacles and all would come down into his brain, and it would turn him into an alien when he went to sleep. So I'm tripping, watching this TV, and looking crazy. I need to go to sleep now. Remember this. A girl walks in. She looks at me. She says, "Oh, my God, Matt, you need to go to sleep. Just like they just got finished doing on the TV. So I'm sitting here, I said, girl, stop. You better stop messing with me. She said, oh my God, no way, do you need to go to sleep for real? I said, man, you better stop, I swear to God. Then she went out, and I'm sitting here, and I'm kind of hanging on to reality a little bit, but I'm starting to let go bad. She goes out and gets a bunch more people, just like they just did in the movie, before they put the egg over the dude's head. So they went and got this, she went and got a bunch of people come back, and everybody's talking about, dude, you need to go to sleep for real, man. Come in here and drink something, or just take this or take that. And I was like, oh my God, no. So I freaking out, man. I started crying and junk, just wigged out. Got up, man. I don't even know what I had on. I started running out the house, man. I took off, and it was all funny, man. I've just hurt myself, right? Not hurting nobody. It was all fun and games. It was, funny, ha-ha, and everything. And it was to a certain point. Until I got to my mama's house. And I could add a lot more to the story, but I just want to tell you this part. I got to my mama's house, and I had kicked in the door, pulled a butcher knife out on my little brothers that I hadn't seen in God knows when. Take them back to the back room, and I said, look here, if y'all don't tell me where the aliens are, I'm going to kill you. Cut your throat. But I was only hurting myself, right? I was just getting high. You don't know where drugs will take you. Be careful what you allow into your be careful what prison you build. Started trying to wean myself off with no success on my own. My wife and I were arguing because she was accusing me of being on dope. How dare her accuse me of being on drugs? I threatened to kill her. I was hearing voices again. I started kicking stuff around the house, punching holes in the wall, kicked the TV into the wall, blankety blank, 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 don't you know who I am, and all this kind of stuff. And on my way to the shower, passed by my son's room. I was in a complete rage, acting like an idiot. He was in there, teared up, pushing stuff, kicking stuff. He was acting like his father. See, we're constantly being recorded by our children. And this is what I was teaching the next generation. As messed up as I was, I loved my son, cared deeply for him. I got in the shower. I couldn't even hardly stand up. It hit just overwhelming emotions. I got in there, I said, God, I was being sarcastic. I said, God, if you're real, I'm crying now. I said, if you're real, man, I said, if you're not an imaginary friend, I said, then just kill me. Hadn't been successful with suicide. Put a gun to my throat several times, never pulled the trigger. Kill me. Please let me just die in an accident or something. Because I'm turning him into what I am, and it stops here. I'm begging you, kill me or help me. I surrender. I give up. I'm done. I cannot beat this. I'm completely addicted to crystal meth, and I will never, ever get off of it. I like to think it was at that point he released 1,000 angels. And he said, finally. Because, see, his hands were tied. Because we were given something in the beginning called free will. And when you have free will, when you hold on to something, you will not let it go. I believe his hands are tied. He can still do things to kind of help you along, but if you hold on to it, you got to let it go. Didn't happen the way I wanted it to. I got pulled over at a fake, I don't even know what it was. It ended up being a roadblock, but they had it looking good like it wasn't a roadblock. And I come pulling through there, and I had every way to get rid of dope. I would burn that truck up before you got me with dope. I had explosives over here. I had all kind of stuff. I was gonna blow a can of PVC glue up. Had a torch, everything. A hole in my floorboard I drilled to just drop it out real quick. It all backfired. Every bit of it backfired, man. And they was storming over the truck with all kind of stuff. So I wasn't getting away. But I won't tell you that I heard the voice of God. I will not sit here and say, he said, thou stoppest doing dopest. You dope, you know. There's a reason they call it dope, by the way, because it makes you stupid. But I didn't hear that, but I felt peace. And for a drug addict that had just a rage in him all the time, especially when he's coming down, peace felt good. It felt really good. I didn't have any spiritual, like I call withdrawals. I had some physical things that I was tired. I had done been up and stuff. But I never, since that night, wanted to gnaw my arm off to get drugs. I quit cherishing it. You know what I mean? I no longer cherish sin in my heart. I broke up with it. I quit loving it. Now I had a chance. One of my all-time favorite movies is the Shawshank Redemption. And in the Shawshank Redemption, you got a man that was accused of doing all these things and all, and he ended up going to prison. He ended up being falsely accused, and it was a very cool movie. Who's seen that movie? Anybody? Yeah, isn't it a great movie? I love it, man. I just about watch it every time it comes on. But in the movie, the guy I thought the most fascinating thing, the guy has made up his mind. He said, I'm going to get out of this prison. I'm better than this. This ain't where I'm going to, you know, I'm not going to end my life like this. I'm going to escape. Remember what he did to escape? What's the first thing he started doing? He got a little bitty chipping hammer, right? He couldn't get a big sledgehammer in there, but the man got a little bitty hammer. I'm talking about like a sculpting hammer or something like that. And he would take, and I'll show that next one. He would take and chip a hole in the wall, right? See, he didn't knock a big sledgehammer hole. He just started chipping a small hole. He would take that dirt, put it in his hands, or the leftover debris. He would walk out to the courtyard and pour it out, slowly chipping away at it. Right? Y'all remember that? Same way in my life. I was freed that night. But see, I still had some stuff to do. I started chipping away at the walls. I started chipping away at the pride. I started chipping away at the lust. I started chipping away at all the things, all these walls that I've been talking about, I've been building, lies, lust, pride, all of that. Slowly chipping away until I got a hole big enough to crawl through. It didn't all happen at once for me. You remember the next thing he did? Y'all seen the movie? What's the next thing he did? You remember the lightning started striking, and every time the lightning struck, boom! What was he breaking into? The sewer line. That's where most people stop in recovery. All right, so you're in recovery for this reason. You're in recovery to start chipping away at the walls, right? And you start chipping away at the walls, but then recovery is going to ask you to do something that most people don't want to do. We just don't want nothing to do with it. Philippians 4:13 says that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. To strengthen, if you by definition, means to add support to. You with me? To add support to. You may have to, boom, you may have to bust into the sewer and swim back through your own crap and everybody else's crap that's dumped on you in your life. We don't want to do that. See, that stopped me for a long time. I may have to, what I mean by that is you may have to make amends. I remember that part? We're going to make amends. Does that mean everybody? As long as it don't hurt them. They might hurt you if it's your wife or something like that, but we don't want to do that. We may have to tell your mama you're sorry. You may have to tell your wife you're sorry. You may have to tell your ex-wife you're sorry. Doesn't matter if they're sorry or not. We're talking about you. We don't want to do that. We don't want to have to swim back through the stuff that our own stuff. But if you do, here's where God will help you. He'll jump in there with you. You start opening up doors, man. You start talking to people. You start, asking forgiveness and stuff. And the things you could not do on your own, I promise you, there is a spiritual power named Jesus Christ that will help you with that. He will prompt you to do things. You'll have a better life. Life is a choice. We don't ever choose the circumstances, but we choose how we react to them. I didn't choose all the stuff that happened to me. I didn't choose for not to go to college, not to do this, not to do that, to get offered drugs. I didn't choose that. But I chose how I reacted to it. Be careful what you let into your body, man. Be careful what prison that you're building right now. It's not just a little porn. It's not just a beer. It's not just a cigarette. It's not. It's a prison. You're building a prison, a foundation for something it's going to take years to come out of. The bigger the prison, the harder to escape. Be careful what you're doing with yourself. But God has blessed me. I can encourage you with this, man. I am a walking miracle. The warden didn't have a chance when the governor sent down a full pardon, because I gave my life to Christ. I gave it up, and Jesus set me free. I choose every day to live there in freedom, just like that. You choose. You have a choice in it. Choose wisely. Thanks for letting me share.